Hey guys, my name is Dice Rollin'. Today we're going to be taking a look at a classic Italian horror film that takes its viewers on a dreamlike journey. Suspiria was written by Dario Argento and Daria Nicolodi, and was directed by Argento too. It was released on January 29th, 1977. A new student arrives at a ballet school in Germany. She begins to find very mysterious and frightening things lurking among the corridors, after students and faculty turn up dead. This review was requested by Arturo Pacheco. So without further ado, this is my review of Suspiria. The movie begins with a little narration by Dario Argento himself, and introduces us to our protagonist, Suzy Bannion, played by Jessica Harper, as she arrives in Germany. And apparently in Germany they have musical doors. It also seems that taxi drivers here are pretty similar to in New York. Thankfully, Suzy finally gets a ride to the ballet school she's set to join. However, upon arriving there, it seems that there is some odd goings-on already in progress. Because of whatever that was, Suzy isn't able to convince whoever's on the other end to let her in. So that means she'll have to find somewhere else to stay for the stormy night. Pat Hingle here, played by Eva Azen, had the same idea as she goes to her friend Sonia, played by Susanna Giavacoli's place. Sonia takes this as Pat's a touch upset about being kicked out of the dance school, but it's a bit more involved than that.
It's useless to try and explain it to you. You wouldn't understand. It all seems so absurd.
You were literally just running through the woods while the wailing souls of the damned followed you. Talk to me. Pat intends to leave the country, but a mysterious figure lurking around in the darkness has a different plan. While Sonia attempts to get help, Pat is used as a veritable pincushion, which leads to an exceptionally original and artistic kind of death scene. The next day, Suzy returns to the school and we're introduced to Miss Tanner, played by the late Alida Valli, and Madame Blanc, played by the late Joan Bennett. Madame Blanc welcomes Suzy to the academy and gives some insight into what happened last night. She explains that Pat was expelled for improper conduct, which is honestly a pretty vague offense, and that she was murdered by a madman. To which Madame Blanc essentially says that she always tells the students not to talk to strangers, and that was Pat's fault, so... But enough of that morbid shit. Madame Blanc has to continue speaking with the officers, and Miss Tanner needs to show Suzy around the building, and explain the function of the academy. Before they leave, Suzy confirms that Pat did indeed leave around 11 p.m. during the storm, but she can't convey any more info than that. A quick bit of insulting to Pavlo, played by Giuseppe Transocchi, and Miss Tanner gets Suzy to the dressing room. This is where we meet some of the other students. Olga, played by Barbara Magnolfi, whom Suzy will be rooming with, and Sarah, played by Stefania Cassini. Apparently, Olga and Sarah don't exactly get along. That evening, Olga and Suzy return to Olga's apartment. Mark, played by Miguel Bozé, stops by with Suzy's bags, which causes Olga to bring up Pat, and possibly increases Suzy's chances of having nightmares. But Suzy's too busy recalling that night and picking up what Pat might have been talking about.
Secret. Iris.
The next day at the academy, Madame Blanc tells Suzy that they have a room for her at the school. But Suzy insists on rooming with Olga, which seems to tick Madame Blanc off just a touch. Listen, I know that some dancers can be divas, but maybe people around here shouldn't be lacing their slippers so tight. Either way, Miss Tanner compliments Suzy on her strong-headedness, filed under things I've never experienced. Before she can get to her next class, Suzy gets flashed and suddenly doesn't seem to be doing so hot. She plans to sit this one out, but Miss Tanner insists that she continues anyway. Yeah, so bleeding from the face usually isn't a good sign. Fucking schooling system, am I right? They don't waste much time in getting Suzy to the available room they have, and getting a doctor to take a look at her. The conclusion is she suffered a hemorrhage due to lack of dance practice, and the only way to help with that is bed rest and a little softcore waterboarding.
You've even got color back in your cheeks.
I think that's the lighting department, actually. Well, it looks like Suzy is definitely staying at the school from now on. Also, bland food and red wine is apparently the best way to combat the effects of a hemorrhage. Take notes, everybody. Good news is, Sarah is Suzy's next door neighbor. Bad news is, this place has maggots! I don't think they have enough raid for this one. Due to the infestation, Madame Blanc had one of the practice rooms turned into a mass sleeping area for everyone to stay in for the night.
It's very late. You won't be afraid if I turn out the lights. Good night, everyone.
Excuse me, I think you turned the ominous ambient lighting on. What the fuck? Suzy, if there weren't other threatening forces at work here, I'd be keeping an eye on him.
Of course, I'm not much for gossip.
Not much for gossip. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Lights off, roast on.
Where do you think it's coming from?
Oh gee, I don't know, Sarah. According to Sarah, this snoring belongs to the directress, because she's heard it before. This is pretty suspicious to Sarah, as the teachers live in town and not in the school. Let's see. Maggots and some asthmatic snoring nearby. Sweet dreams, guys. The next day, the school pianist, Daniel, played by Flavio Busci, arrives at the school and it seems to be business as usual, until Miss Tanner storms into the room, saying that Daniel's seeing eye dog bit Albert, Madame Blanc's nephew. Miss Tanner kicks Daniel out despite his protests that his dog wouldn't do something like that. That night, despite being extremely drowsy, Suzy notices something odd in relation to Sarah's claim that the teachers leave the school every night.
It doesn't seem to me that they're going out. The front door is on the left. Their footsteps are going to the right, somewhere inside the school.
So Sarah counts the steps in order to figure out exactly where the teachers are going. At the same time, Daniel has gone to the bar to drown his unemployment sorrows. And, well, at least listen to some folk dancing. On the way home, however, Daniel's dog freaks out, as some presence swoops through the sky around them. And without warning, Daniel's dog attacks him and literally rips his throat out. Given how bizarre and gruesome these events are, Suzy has a talk with Madame Blanc the next day. She tells her about the words she caught Pat saying the night she arrived. Sarah tells Suzy later on at the pool that she was Pat's friend, and it seemed like she was onto something about the school. Sarah was also the one to tell Suzy to go away over the intercom. Sarah says that Pat gave her the note she'd been taking on the oddities of the school before she left. Problem is, that night when she goes to show Suzy, she discovers that someone got to them first, and they're nowhere to be found. But Sarah kept a few pages on her. Hearing strange noises outside the room, and seeing that someone has entered her room, Sarah hides the pages with Suzy and leaves. In her attempt to flee, Sarah ends up in the attic, but even here isn't safe. I mean, that seems to be a little overdramatic, but go off. I don't think Sarah has anything to worry about here. Oh my god! She's trapped in the world's biggest slinky. And like that, Sarah's out of the picture now. In the morning, Suzy notices Sarah's absence, and Miss Tanner explains that Sarah just up and left. Suzy doesn't believe this, so she calls and meets with Dr. Frank Mandel, played by Udo Kier, whom Sarah mentioned as being the only other person she trusted. According to Mandel, Sarah was a patient of his, and she seemed rather upset recently because she had learned a bit about the school's history. It was founded by Helena Marcos, who is believed to be a witch and eventually died in a fire.
I'm convinced that the current spread of belief in magic and the occult is part of mental illness.
Hey, listen, man, I know some people who wouldn't exactly agree with that statement. Mandel introduces Suzy to Professor Milius, played by the late Rudolf Schundler, who is in possession of one of the top 10 pairs of bushy eyebrows, and specializes in occult studies. He explains what exactly a witch is and does, which isn't exactly accurate, just FYI. He also mentions that magic is everywhere. Now this I agree with. With this information, Suzy returns to the academy, but she's the only student there. She attempts to call Mandel, but the phone mysteriously stops working. Suspecting foul play in the form of her nightly dinner, Suzy gets rid of it. Then, oddly enough, a rather tenacious bat makes its way into her bathroom, forcing Suzy to stomp the fuck out of it. I believe the ASPCA will be arriving shortly. Unsure of what to do now, Suzy realizes the same thing that Sarah did, that she can figure out where the teachers have gone. So out into the corridor she goes, counting the footsteps that were taken before. After a bit of evading the cooking staff, Suzy arrives in the room with the irises decorating the wall. Here she finally understands what Pat had been saying the night she ran away.
3 irises! Turn the blue one!
Thus, a hidden area is revealed. This is where the teachers go every night. Not only that, but they're all witches, and are currently working to get rid of Suzy. Suzy also finds out what happened to Sarah. Slipping into a secret room within the secret room to avoid being discovered, yet another startling something is found. Helena Marcos did not die and lives here at the school. So now Suzy has one choice in order to save herself and avenge her friend's death. But it's kinda hard to kill a bitch when you can't see her. Just to add another level to this nightmare, that'll work. With Helena dead, everyone else in the coven is incapacitated, and the academy literally self-destructing around her, Suzy hauls ass out of there. As the entire building goes up in smoke, Suzy walks away into the stormy night, having defeated a coven of witches. And with that, the credits roll with some more goblin scoring. And speaking of, it seems only fit to discuss the music and scoring first. Goblin and Dario Argento's work on the score does so much for this film. Every piece is very unique, and does a brilliant job of creating an ethereal and sinister vibe. There's good reason why so many people praise it. Once you know Suspiria, the music is instantly recognizable. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The characters are kinda cheesy, but fun. Though, as the audience, our main focus is on Suzy. Jessica Harper once again brought a likability to the role she played. Suzy is a sort of figure of innocence and resilience, without coming across as annoying. She also acts as a sort of anchor for the viewer. She's a stranger in a very strange place, so we follow her through this nightmare and root for her to bring it to an end. I don't feel like I can speak too much on the other characters. As I said, they're all pretty entertaining, but not too deep. Stefania Cassini did well as Sarah, and acting as one of the elements that urged Suzy in the right direction. All in all, there really isn't any truly bad acting. Sure, not all of it is utterly fantastic, but it certainly wasn't excruciating to sit through. I do feel like the language barriers between some of the actors did cause some problems here and there, but they all managed to make it work. As far as the story is concerned, it feels like something that would be right at home in Grimm's fairy tales. And actually, it is a fairy tale. Dreamlike and completely comfortable in being in a world of its own. It's a bit shallow, and the big twist is easy to spot, but at the same time, you really don't mind that much. It's really not meant to convey any deep message about the human condition. It's more about telling a visual story than a moral one. This is another movie where all of the effects are practical. While the blood is very much in the red paint and hammer horror area of things, and obvious puppet work is obvious, everything else is pretty solid. Particularly when Sarah gets her throat slashed. You could practically feel that one. Suspiria said, "Atmosphere? You want atmosphere?" Absolutely nothing was held back to create the eerie, ethereal, dream, and nightmare-like atmosphere that this movie just oozes with. Aside from the score, this is another element that is instantly recognizable. Every bit of it is gorgeous and meticulously framed. The saturation is cranked up to 11. The settings are cool to take in, and even dark scenes are lit in such an interesting way. With that being said, I'm giving Suspiria 8 out of 10 bloody thumbs up. This is one of Dario Argento's most well-known works, and it's easy to see why. It's essentially a piece of art. Suspiria and subsequent other Italian horror films did a lot for American horror films just with their visuals. I can't say that it's all that scary, but it does have moments of genuine creepiness. This, mixed with its beauty, makes for a very original piece of horror. I think it fits quite well to call Suspiria a beautiful nightmare. I would recommend Suspiria to fans of giallos and Italian films, those who enjoy experiencing a movie, not just watching it, fans of witches, and anyone who wants to watch a horror film without being too scared. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like to let me know. Don't forget to leave a comment down below telling me what you thought of this movie. And if you have any suggestions for horror movies you would like to see me review in the future. You can support the channel through my Patreon, where you would get early access to videos like this. Also, don't forget to share this video to help the channel grow, and subscribe for more videos like this. See you later.
Suzy, do you know anything about witches?